Okay, well, hello everybody. It is Brian, and it has been a minute since I've been online here, just before DEF CON. So I am happy to be back. And um, yeah, for those of you who haven't seen me in a minute, uh, uh, yeah, I went to DEF CON, had a hell of a time. I wouldn't say I'm still recovering. I actually got back what Monday after, so it was like the 11th or something. So, um, wow, okay. Sub for a great ball. I don't know what Pokemon drop is, but apparently there's some ads all over my Twitch UI. Yes, let's dismiss this message. If you sub and let me see, what the hell is this for? Sub drops. Oh, you can get 2 months of Audible Premium. You can get a Pokeball. God, okay, yeah, I don't even know that. I don't even know what's going on there. But if you do a sub, you can get a drop. So there you go. You can definitely do that. I am very dark. Let me. There we go. Turn that up a little bit. Ooh. Okay, you almost saw me just drop ass right out of this chair because the back failed. So do not adjust your set. I'm a little more tan apparently than normal. So that's probably where that's coming from. And my camera is cameraing as well as it can be. So yeah, went to DEF CON, had a good time. Um, my good time is different than your good time. So got my nice DEF CON goon badge here that I have yet to play with. I actually haven't powered it on past putting a couple of batteries in it and looking at the QR code. I don't even have the new firmware on it. Apparently at DEF CON, when these launched, there was some updates to the firmware because the camera was having some issues scanning some of the QR codes and elsewhere. Hey, Walt, just signed up for an Imagination Library subscription after seeing a great bio on Dolly. Yes, she passed away. Yeah, my just give everybody an update. Yes, Dolly Parton passed away today in Nashville at the age of 80 years old. So, yeah, it's very sad. The world is a bit dimmer than what it was. This one, I don't think I've been affected by a celebrity death like this since, I would say, Mr. Rogers, probably. And I know exactly where I found out when he passed away. I was crossing the Coronado Bridge on my way to the Navy in North Island when I found out that he'd passed away. So it was pretty shitty. Again, yet another not good day for folks. But yeah, complete legend. She completely owned the space that she lived in and was the master of her domain, and amazing humanitarian and singer, actress. As a matter of fact, I think they were working on a biopic, or not a biopic, but a play or a musical based on her life that is being developed on Broadway that I think she had a hand in at the time. So hopefully that will go on to do huge things once it gets on Broadway, which I have no doubt it will. As she was involved in the 9 to 5 musical, she was also in the movie of the same name, also did the song of the same name. I don't know if the song inspired the movie or she wrote the song for the movie. I don't know. But yeah, huge humanitarian, did a lot of work funding COVID research and what have you. Yeah, just a huge loss to the world. So yeah. Hey Walt, how you doing? So yeah, going back to my good times at and we'll get to the socvel quiz at some point, but and I've got a couple of things about exciting things like gap analysis. So some things I'm working on at work. So for those of you who know, you may not know, I am a goon. I do goon. I have my badge and everything back there. I got my coin this year, which was a huge deal for us people who've done 3 years of gooning. It's just being part of a family, if you will, of that goes beyond DEF CON every year. So we have a whole community and a bunch of folks that have done things like this. And so one of the things that they tend to do when you do things at DEF CON, being a goon, people will give you stuff. Like you get all kinds of little freebies. Like I got me a lobster here. I got me a lobster that I had. It was hanging on my gear the whole time. You get a shit ton of stickers and just things and stuff. So these are poker chips that us goons get for. Use for buying like lunch and food and drinks and stuff. We could use these at the Rio. We could use these at certain eateries inside of the Rio. I will tell you, a good number of us, including myself, had a lot of these left at the end of DEF CON. So we went back to the Circle Bar in the Rio, and we had until midnight to spend. Oh hell! I think we had multiple thousands of dollars worth of tokens that were still, that we had been given that we had to spend. I did my utmost. I think we bought at least 3 dozen, beers and shots, and we were even giving alcohol to local Star Trek convention fans. I think we had a couple from Scotland that were there, trying to figure out what we were doing as DEF CON goons. And we brought them in, and they became part of our goon family for that evening. And Guinness was flowing freely, and it was a good time. But one of the some of the other freebies you get. If you went to DEF CON and got to the snacky village where the snacky vending machine was, they were giving badges out as part of their CTF. And Curious and one of the other organizers there gave me this as I don't want to say recompense, but I helped them out with their line, making sure that that second day at DEF CON with Snacky, when people started figuring out all the flags and everything, we probably had about 300 people in line waiting to go over, test their flag to make sure and see if they could get a Snacky badge. And I haven't even opened it yet. As a matter of fact, it still has the original tape on it and everything. I don't know what to do with it, honestly. I appreciate Curious and Wolf for what is his name? Forget. I did ask Curious what his name was. He's Curious. Crab Foam. Sorry, Crab Foam. Because I mentioned the gentleman with the hat, the beach hat, was kind enough to give me a badge. I've not unpacked it yet, and that was as of the 18th of August when I had asked him about that. They don't have to do that for us, and we don't shake people down for any kind of freebies or anything. But there's just so much stuff going on, and it was really, really great to see. The work that we did. I worked from 9 to 5, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I didn't get to participate in the villages. I walked around for a good majority of the time, keeping track of folks like the Badge Life Village, which they were doing things like, soldering badges and things like that. But then they also had people who were selling or having people pick up their badges at the event. So you could go to the Badge Life Village, and if you'd bought one of the hacker pagers, I think is what it was called. Let me go see if I can find that. It was a hacker pager. I remember specifically because that was the reason we had to change up. Yeah, here you go. Yeah. Okay. So let me see. So this was one of the pagers, I think, that had shown up at the event. Yeah, see option, pick up at DEF CON 34. They'll appear in the store. These were fairly large sized badges, but you showed up at Badge Life Village, and everybody showed up at Badge Life Village, but then it was like a bunch of people in the village. So it was like, crap, what are we going to do? So we had to fix the line for that and make sure that larger drops of and more popular drops. Like this one had a couple of, I think a couple dozen folks, upwards about 75 to 150 folks came at any one time and could pick up their stuff. And so, yeah, Biohacking Village was another one. It was like you needed an NDA, you needed to sign some kind of agreement with them. So, they had lines outside that they didn't anticipate because the method by which they were bringing people in was slow. Last year they had paper badges. This year they had, a couple tablets, and people were doing. So you couldn't just walk down the hall and walk down the line and say, okay, here's a paper, sign this thing, give it to them as you're going in. There was a bottleneck there. So being able to identify those things and help them, manage their line queue, and, did they have stanchions? Did they need folks? And was good. So yeah, a lot of excellent time. Oh yeah, I saw one of my coworkers who gave me one of the Latin American like InfoSec community badges, which I had opened it a little bit. Seriously, I do not open these badges. So here's a nice lanyard. Okay, so DEF CON Div 0 Singapore. Oh, okay. One of my coworkers gave me this badge. I actually work with him, and he saw me at the event. So I don't know what it does, but it lights up. It has 3 AA batteries that fit on the back. It has a shitty add-on. So if you went to DEF CON, one of the things you found out pretty quickly was the shitty add-ons, which there's 2 of them on this year's badge, 34. The pinouts are wrong, and they're actually upside down. So you needed to have the adapters, which were in short supply. Matter of fact, I managed to find a couple at the very end of the conference, and I actually found 3. So you put them on, it will actually allow you to flip your badges upside down so that you can. They're a little bulky, they stick out a little bit on the badge, but they allow you so that you can put your shitty add-ons on, and they're not upside down, right? I actually bought a shitty add-on. Little adapter for this is not a sidewalk, or not just a sidewalk, but I misplaced it at some point. It must have fallen out of my bag or something like that. So hopefully somebody got a free shitty add-on out there. So it is what it is. So I really enjoy being a DEF CON goon, not for the reasons of going to DEF CON that everyone else does, but everyone else goes to DEF CON for different reasons. I didn't see any talks. It was a little different this year. Like it was very, if you've seen silent discos or something like that, they had a bunch of Bluetooth headsets that you could go and listen to the talks, but you didn't have to worry about like really. In previous years at this event, the biggest problem they had was different speaker tracks depending on who was speaking, how the audio was set up. You'd get bleed over from, you could hear track 3's talk in track 4, for instance, or something like that, because they were just separated by curtains for all intents and purposes. So anybody was doing something that was really noisy, or somebody was playing some music or something, you could hear that in that talk, and it kind of took away from the ability for you to enjoy the talk that you came to see. So this year they contracted out with a company that had headphones or headsets that were basically, it was a Bluetooth connection at scale. So you just put them over your ears and you could hear the speaker. And you saw these in a bunch of the villages. And a little creepy, I won't lie, walking into the speaker tracks in the speaker area and not hearing anything. It was just like you could actually carry on a conversation, which I found quite interesting. And of course, I understand they had the silent disco and all that. So, anybody who you went to DEF CON this year, let me know. I know I saw a good number of folks. I saw Digital Warhead. I saw a good number of folks from the San Diego area, the Hard Hat Brigade. I saw Curious, who actually helps run Snacky. That's why I reached out to him, because he's on our DEF CON 858 meetup group. Yeah, I saw a good number of folks. Some of my ex Amazon friends who I worked with on the bug bounty team, they were all there. We actually went out to dinner one night. There's a place called Tacos El Gordo, which is around the corner from the convention center, right across from. Hey, hello, Matches. Yeah, hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Gonna have to log in here, check something real quick. One sec. Um, I'm gonna I'm gonna ask a question of somebody. So let me see if nope, that's not it. Okay, so I'm gonna ask that question of the person who's chatting on another band here and see if that's the person I'm thinking of. Did you have a good time, Matt? Matt, I don't know if I saw you. If I saw you, then it was good to see you. Um, don't know if I was mostly in the village. I actually walked. Let me see. I didn't have the watch measuring my walkage, but I did post every day that I was on Facebook what my daily walking sessions were. I think I walked 18 miles on Thursday, um, another 18 miles on Friday, and Saturday was about 15. Oh, okay. Yeah, tons of walk. Yeah. My job was to anticipate some kind of issues or anything. Okay, so that's not you because we didn't meet. So I thought you might be a coworker of mine. So sorry about that. Yeah, I really enjoyed just walking around and seeing all of the villages, whether they be the Kubernetes, the cryptids. There were some folks doing Red Team Village was huge this year, very busy. Let me see what Car Village. Car Village was doing a lot of work. Maritime Village actually had a semi in it. I'm not exactly sure how Maritime Village ended up with a semi, but they did. And the Aerospace Village unfortunately didn't have a badge this year, which if you were there in the previous years, it was just a stellar badge. And so them not having their badge this year, they were very bummed out about that. And yeah, so let me see. Let me see. 4 weeks. Oh, be careful. Yeah, we're yeah. I walked like 30,000 steps um, on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I walked almost 60 miles from Wednesday to Sunday. That was a lot, and as long as I was walking, I was fine. But it was the standing that was the problem. So like on what Thursday, on when everybody's getting their badges and everything, I was standing there holding a sign for registration for like a couple hours, and just standing still just killed my knees. Otherwise, everything was gravy. So so many enameled. Whoops. So many enameled pins, stickers galore, uh, coins. I've got the Royal Order of the Flaming Dumpster, I think, coin, which can got a ton of those. Um, some folks, yeah, that was a good one. I'm a member of the Royal Order of the Flaming Dumpster. But yeah, there's just so much stuff. There's just so much stuff, and I'm really, the creativity of our community is just is stellar. I mean, between the memes and people just building stuff, and even the guy who it was funny. I was doing LineCon on Thursday night, and the guy with the 3D printer was up doing his thing, and we had a DJ and everything, and he was handing out these flippers, which if you don't remember the previous year, it's just a little thing that spins, and it says Layered Fusion Designs on it, which you can go check out the website for that. Here's the QR code if you want to check that out. There, come on, there we go, something like that. And he was like, "Oh, sorry, I don't have an orange one to give you." I was like, "That's okay. I still have the one from the previous year that you gave me." And he was really impressed, and I think it meant a lot to him that somebody had managed to keep something that probably cost him like $2 or $3 to make, but had kept it for the year. Not only that, took it back to DEF CON to play with, not thinking they were going to get another one. So, um, but yeah, it was just a good time, and there was a lot of folks, and it was probably one of the more chill. Even the goons and some of the attendees who had attended multiple, like even the stuff in the before times with the hotels and stuff, said it was a very chill environment. Everybody seemed to just be having a good time. So that's what we like to hear coming from a goon side. We didn't have to deal with a lot of people that we had to remove. We did have I think we did have a few folks, and I think this is in the transparency report, that we had, meta glasses that we did ask kindly to remove and put in their glasses case holder, because you can't just take them off and put them like on your, because they still record, right? We did have a couple of folks who did have some meta glasses that we did ask them nicely to remove. Come to find out now, as if we didn't have enough to worry about with meta glasses, I believe iPods. No. Was it Apple earbuds are going to have cameras on them now? Yeah. So next year, not only are we going to have to be concerned about meta glasses, but if you get AirPods, the newest versions of those are going to have cameras on them now as well. So, I don't know why people think that's a good idea, but it is what it is, and we're going to try to do what we can to enforce or to help people with their security as much as we can. So yeah, you're gonna they have AirPods now that will have cameras on them, camera equipped. So that's the rumor. So we'll see what happens if that's something that comes to fruition. So yeah, the AirPods, right? Yeah, thanks, Walt. Yeah. Okay, so just I think that's everything's looking fuzzy. Either I need I need glasses, not new glasses. I need glasses, or the fan is causing my privacy monitor to make things a little out of focus. So yeah, so fun times. Yes, or yes, Dolly. Yeah. So as I was coming back from DEF CON, I knew that one of the things that I was going to have to do was work on some various roadmaps, and the various aspects of the, I want to say, the non-exciting parts of information security, but there are some aspects of security. Let me turn on some music here so I have a little background noise here. Here we go. Our good friends over at Chill Hop Radio, they're about to come out with their fall 2026 music. Yeah, just put a little something in the background here for y'all. You can make sure. Oh, yeah, I can turn mine down. There we go. Okay. If it's too loud, let me know. I just thought I'd have a little something in the background to listen to on my earbuds. So, yeah, so conducting a gap analysis is part and parcel of doing things like roadmaps and planning for the next year. And my job, I don't want to say is a boring one, but doing enterprise risk management, or understanding where we're going to be heading to, right? Figuring out a gap analysis is nothing more than what is happening currently, what's the end state. So when you're building your roadmap in about 18 months, you're like, we're going to be doing these things, right? And somebody's all they're going to tell, do a gap analysis or whatever, but it's like, really, it's nothing more than, what are we doing now, and what's the end state, and what's the deltas? The deltas are your gaps, right? So this is what we're going to be doing. This is the things that we don't do now that we need to do, and there may be some additional bits, but having that gap analysis will help you with, and I can hear y'all falling asleep, but that's okay because I'm having to deal with this. And I know that some of you probably haven't had to deal with this yet, but the idea is that when you get to this point, you'll have a method by which you can do that. There are numerous ways, a myriad of ways of doing a gap analysis. And really it breaks it down. Forbes breaks it down as to the simplest part here. What is the current, where are you at right now and it doesn't have to be in the entire company. It doesn't have to be across the enterprise. It's how are we patching things? What is the current state of patching right now? Well, we have these people that do all these things and, understanding where the difficulties are. If you're, especially if you're having trouble with certain organizations or certain parts of your company not being able to patch in a timely manner, if you have an SLA for that, that they're not hitting, like got to remediate your highs in, or your criticals in the next, day and a half or so, or something like that. Or you're wanting to push towards things like golden images or standard images where your build process for your images is automated, or you're tracking, the latest builds of Python or something like that. If you're not doing that right now, there's a gap. What's the gap? You can either measure that gap, or you can say, these are the 15 things that, we want a build that is automated in our environment, but right now it is not. And this is what we're doing right now. This is the end state. And these are the things that, the discrepancies, or, how we're going to, do that. Is it going to be automated? Is it going to be, are we going to clod up all of the things? Or are we going to use OpenAI? Are we going to, embrace some kind of process that needs to be implemented for that? Are we going to need technology? Are we going to need headcount? Those kinds of things. These gaps help us identify what we need to do to get that done, whether it be buying new software, buying resources, purchasing resources that can do that for us. Maybe it's, migrating to a cloud to make that happen or something like that. But having these gaps helps us identify the work that needs to be done, which then helps us build our roadmaps, which I'm kind of doing it in a bit of reverse because there's some things that happened in my company that I will not go into, but I've inherited the program and I needed a roadmap because I kind of knew where we needed to be versus what we already were doing. I could already identify from my years of experience across multiple industries where our third-party risk management needed to go. And so I knew what we were doing now, and I knew what good looked like. And it didn't have to be perfect. It just has to be better than what it is currently. And so unfortunately for me, what is current and what is I would consider good or excellent is about an 18-month roadmap. And that's just me working on it and delegating things out, creating policies, creating new process, embracing new technology that we just purchased so that we can build that out. So I've been talking with the people who own that software. I've been talking with folks that, we have a policy of being able to do risk management. It needs to be updated only because some of the processes are going to be different. So, ideally what we're going to do is we're going to define the process, and then based on what we consider to be in that process, we're going to map, towards the end goal or whatever we're wanting it to be. And that would be, if you're doing something like this, it could be something as simple as all vendor reviews need to follow this process. So let's say you have a sales team, and I don't know how that, not necessarily how it works in my place, but if you've ever worked, doing vendor reviews or having to do those SIG or CAKE questionnaires, you come up with, why did you decide, why did the team decide to engage this vendor? What was the criteria for that? you might need to, we don't send out questionnaires right now, but you might want to send out a questionnaire. Your end state might be, we need more context before we, do a vendor review on these folks from a security aspect. There's certain things that have changed in the vendor landscape in the past, year and a half. And so you have to start looking at things like supply chain issues. If you're an organization that shares data or somebody pulls data from you, collecting, that kind of stuff, what are they going to do with that data? Now with AI, they going to take your data and put it into their AI for training purposes or something like that? So you need to understand how they're going to use your data. Who are their third parties? So in this case, your fourth parties, because a lot of breaches that we've seen in the past are as a result of a third party, maybe a third party's third party that got, popped because your third party maybe doesn't do very good job of vetting their own third parties. So, here's a password, and they give the same vendor password to everybody. So they get in and they get owned. And by definition, you're going to get owned because they're looking maybe not, they're not looking at my third parties, but they're looking at the third parties to see if they can gain meaningful access to that third party's portfolio of people that they're partnered with. And we just happen to be collateral damage in some cases, or your company may be collateral damage. So, coming back to it, gap analysis, it sounds scary when somebody says, oh, you need a gap analysis. But if you have a roadmap, if you have a, what are we doing now? If we're having you have an opinion of where things are going to go, you can codify those into some sort of plan or process where you can say, okay, this is where we want to be. This is where we are now. Mind the gap. Like what's going to keep you from getting from here to there, right? Is it a process? Is it resources? Is it we're not doing this thing, but we really should be doing this thing because compliance reasons, or we should be patching, because patch apocalypse again, or whatever it is people are calling it, like AI 0-day finding clock. That's a lot. There it is, 0-day clock. So, let's say, there we go. I mean, let's say that your CISO is a big fan of this 0-day clock that exists. And, the ability to weaponize a vulnerability is now as of 1.1 days right now on average, 17 hours to patch something. If you are, if you're like me and have worked in many organizations in the past, and it's taken, 30 days for them to address a critical issue because, we just don't do releases in a timely manner like that. And it's like, you've got 1.1 days, basically, once something has been found to patch it, especially if it's exposed to the internet. Now we're looking at potentially, they're saying 1 minute in 2027. Yeah. I would say, we're going to hit 1 day in 2020. We're going to hit the 1 day barrier in 2026. This is where, things like knowing what you're using in your environment, what is exposed to the internet, what software is, exposed to, if you're using an old version of Django, for instance, or you're using older frameworks, or, you haven't updated your software libraries, if you don't have, assets logged and tagged, and one of what 300 different dependencies your environment is using, you're gonna have issues with that. And this is where this gap analysis could be like, on average, it takes us 7 days to fix things that are externally accessible, like when the CVSS 10s hit, and that's a legitimate, this system is exposed to the internet, and you've got some controls, but you don't have all the controls. This is where things like risk management would come in and go, okay, there's a suggestion that we have a day to fix issues. And if we don't have a day If it takes us longer than that to be done, what kind of risks are we incurring? What kind of mitigations are we going to have to put in place, like firewalls and WAFs? Those give us a certain amount of time, but if we have configurations that would allow for a bypass of those firewalls or bypass of those controls, they buy us day 2, 3. So if we could say comfortably in 5 days, we need to be able to patch all of our critical issues externally, or whatever. Those are gaps that you would need to have a gap analysis for. Like right now, it takes us X number of days, and this is where metrics are going to come in. You have X number of days to fix this issue. Given the fact that we have firewall, we have a WAF, we have proactive security, we have logging. Logging is not something that you should rely on as a control. That is a, oh shit, it's already happened control, right? That is to help mitigate your damage, not necessarily prevent those controls. So you have preventative detections, compensating controls, mitigation controls. That's been my thing, like being able, and there are no shortage of blog posts from companies like Smartsheets and from elsewhere that will help you, understand how to do that. You can even ask your friend the AI on how to, align a gap analysis with things. And so, I've been trying to build. What I've been trying to do is building a. There we go. Come on. No, I don't. Thank you. Fuck. All right. So I did ask it because I was like, it might be helpful to codify this, because there's a lot of folks in your org that may not exactly understand why you want to create a gap analysis, but it gave me 6 steps, because I was like, maybe I want to codify this so that when I go to talk to folks about these things. So when I asked Claude, I was like, hey, I want to be able to do this. Like, step 1, assemble evidence base before talking to anyone, inheriting artifacts from your predecessor, current policies and standards, any configurations or, records or anything that would help plead your case in terms of that. Like when you go to talk to them, it's like, hey, we're wanting to do these things. You're going to have to create a proposal about these kinds of issues. I built my gap analysis based on the thing that I'm going to be working on. So one of the other things it said was create a baseline, like how long does it actually take to do something on average? So you may end up having, if you don't have those metrics right now, you may just need to set an arbitrary number of what you think it is, like a gut estimate, like it takes us on average 10 days to do this. But the idea would be, the gap would be identifying, hey, we don't have metrics. So, end state is going to be, hey, we're going to need metrics to show that we've actually improved. So if you can do a quick and dirty analysis, if you don't have those metrics in place, it'd be like, this is a point in the sand, if you will. And we're going to go from there. So if you say it takes us 10 days on average to fix a critical issue, we hope to get it down to 5 days, but we don't have good metrics right now to be able to measure those things in aggregate. So you might have to pull a JIRA ticket from, maybe you would want to find the best case and the worst case scenario and kind of maybe average those, or maybe you would want to look at a handful of JIRA tickets that you've written, or a handful of work that you've written, to go, okay, how long did it actually take to address these critical issues? Well, being able to track that, even on a rudimentary basis, where you can go back to your leadership and go, okay, I analyzed the last 15 criticals that we had, and on average, it took us 17 days to fix these issues, which is far longer than most people want to, have to deal with. The gap, because we're not within SLA, because the gap right now for our current process for SLAs is like 7 days for critical. Whatever your organization is. We're going from 17 to 7, and then you might have to analyze, why is it taking 17 days? Well, this team does something, and this team does something. This team's actually within SLAs, but this team is not. Why is this team not? they only release monthly, so it took them 35 days to fix the last critical issue, or they had to bump it because features matter, right? We have to turn profit, and they didn't consider this to be a critical issue. You're going to have a justification for some of your measurements, or why this gap matters, or why it doesn't matter anymore. And your gap may be wider or shorter depending on how your leadership feels about the end state, or what you consider the current state to be. There may be some negotiation. Okay, well, we're not going to get down to 7 days, so we can either fix the SLA, or we're going to handle it in phases. Like, we can do 5 of the 7 teams that we have can get within SLA. These other 2 are going to need to do some things on the engineering side. So you need to maybe talk with the engineering manager and go, you are at risk of, causing damage to the organization. So we need to, or something like that. You're going to have to engage with them and go, we need to understand the feasibility of being able to do things like patching, or, here's of the last 15 vulnerabilities your team is unable to hit our established SLA. Your gaps are going to get wider or shorter, depending on what that looks like. But that can always be follow-on work. Like, we fixed, 5 of the 7 teams are going to hit this gap, but the follow-on work that we're going to have, to address that gap again is going to be fixing those 2 teams, or working with those 2 teams to get down within SLA. Just an example. But it's complicated, and it's a lot of people work, which a lot of security folks tend to not like to do sometimes, but it's part of being strategic versus operational or tactical. You need to identify where you're lacking in terms of where you're wanting to go and where to improve. And that's you start looking in, and this is where things like the theory of constraints, or if you've ever, the book is a bit dated, but the goal talks about the theory of constraints, the idea that any system limited by a single bottleneck and improving anything else does not help the overall system. So the idea is that the process will have bottlenecks, like the release cycle is the bottleneck because they only release monthly. So if you've released on the 1st of the month and the vulnerability comes out on the 2nd of the month, you've got 28 days before the next release happens, right? So you're automatically not going to hit SLA. So either working with the engineering teams to address the release schedule, or having some sort of hot fix process that we can push out updates in a more timely manner, getting engineering teams on board with the idea of spending story points to fix and address things. Or maybe you can do something on the back end so that when they get their build environment, that it's already updated, instead of them having to build their environment in a timely manner. But yeah, you start looking at things like identifying where bottlenecks are, your theory of constraints, where you can only move as fast as your slowest person, or slowest process, or slowest element within the system itself. And eliminating that slowest element, there's always yet another slowest part. So you're trying to hit optimization, right? So that's probably more than anybody else wanted to hear about a gap analysis. But I just, I don't want to say I'm struggling with it, but it was something I've been trying to work on myself, and it feels daunting, but it's just something that I know everybody has to deal with at some point in their careers if they get where they are. Either they're going to be on the end implementing the fix, from on high, like, I'm enterprise risk manager kind of thing. And it's like, I'm not going to be implementing that. I'm going to be helping to plan for that. But the execution phase of these things is going to be done by other folks. You may be executing those plans. You may have to go and talk with the teams about how to coordinate that effort. Or you may be on the other side. You may be a developer or in the engineering team. And you're like, okay, we recognize that there's a problem, but we can't do anything about it. So you have to communicate that to security. or security doesn't know how your process works or how or why you're doing those things. There may be a justification of why it takes you 28 days to fix anything. So then you're looking at things like, acceptance processes or exemption processes or exception processes. Acceptance, exceptions, or exemptions. Those are three different things for how we would handle potential risk there. One's a little more permanent than the others, but ideally, that's how you want to deal with those. So, if anybody's interested, we can definitely talk more about that. I'm sure that I'm putting people to sleep, but that's okay. Sometimes I just do things for me. So anyway, I know I have dinner here in about 30 minutes. So that will give us just enough time to probably do the socvel quiz. So I know this one, so I get at least one right. So talking about getting yourself banned from flying, what attack did a bunch of crazies try on a flight home from DEF CON? So I think they tried the rogue access point. There was a flight traveling from Vegas to Atlanta after being, so little background here. The closing ceremonies was on Sunday, and there was a weather event in Vegas that caused a backup. It wasn't our dear leader in Washington. That was on Wednesday. So flights were canceled. So I believe this flight from Vegas to Atlanta was like 18 hours late. And so people got on the flight. They were in the process of flying to Atlanta to go home. And the wireless stopped working on the plane. And I believe the pilot had to put out a special message to the air traffic controllers saying, and of course they mentioned, let's see. No, it was, okay, so it was a deauth attack. It wasn't a rogue access point. Okay, my bad. So even I got that one wrong. But yeah, so they were Delta Airlines, because Atlanta is a Delta hub. It's like the hub. Yeah, several passengers returning from DEF CON 34 conference, and they weren't, there was a good number of DEF CON people on that flight, including a good friend of mine who was not involved with this, had said that this happened on the plane. They had carried out a deauth attack. I think somebody had mentioned that somebody had gotten hold of a pineapple and they were just, itching to try it out. But yeah, clients were connecting. They received forged packets pretending to be from legitimate access point, telling them to disconnect. The attacker observed wireless traffic. So yeah, they were saying, here's the message that went out from the pilots. We have a bunch of passengers that were at a cybersecurity conference in Las Vegas. They were able to jam our Wi-Fi and broadcast their signal. They also apparently had created some sort of fake login page to potentially harvest credentials. Don't do this if you're on an airline. One, you're in a big giant tube traveling at 500 miles an hour at 30,000 plus feet. You're pretty much in a cage. And it's not like you can blame somebody on the ground 7 miles below you. You are, and you probably have a bunch of, I got into it with a bunch of folks on Reddit on this because I was like, don't do stupid shit on a plane. You don't want to do anything that's going to cause you to be on a no-fly list. And I believe even Dark Tangent had said, yeah, whoever did this on the plane, banned from DEF CON. So this is the last DEF CON that these idiots are going to go to because they fucked up. They fucked it up. So yeah, the ACARS message, aircraft communications and addressing and reporting system, indicated some passengers were able to jam Wi-Fi and broadcast a rogue network named Delta Wi-Fi Fast. Yeah, don't do stupid shit on a plane. You didn't need to play around with the Wi-Fi on the plane. You're a dumbass, and you deserve to be, removed from DEF CON permanently. So, yes, those people were taken into custody, I believe, and Probably, yeah. See, after the aircraft docks, federal authorities and airport police boarded the aircraft to question the suspects and seize their portable Wi-Fi hardware. I don't know what happened to those folks, but yeah. My guess is that if they get if somebody was to find out their name who worked for DEF CON, they probably won't be coming back to DEF CON. So don't be stupid. So yeah, I fucked that up. I fucked it up by picking the wrong. It definitely was a DAuth attack, but they did have to set up an access point to do so because it made them want to have people connect to their access point. So that's my bad. I will take the hit on that. But it was a DAuth attack that got people to connect to their rogue access point. So anyway. According to CloudSec, what was the original culprit in the supply chain attack affecting 2,500 companies' CI/CD pipelines? Ooh. What was the original culprit in the supply chain attack? I heard about this one, but this was a while ago too. So why do I feel like it was light LLM? I'm feeling light LLM. Nope, Trivy. Okay. So this was a supply chain attack. Wait. Okay, so it was a light supply chain attack, light LLM supply chain attack, but okay. Research on the supply chain, largest AI supply chain breach in 2026 names the organizations potentially exposed 2,500 companies, 434,000 CI/CD pipelines. The light LLM breach began with a compromised Trivy build and cascaded through PyPy into an automated CI/CD pipeline, putting cloud credentials, source code repos, Kubernetes environments, and AI infrastructure at risk. Oh, okay. So again, I had the right breach. I just didn't know it was Trivy who did it. I had heard that it was light LLM. I just didn't know it was based on Trivy. So, wow. Okay, so secrets borrowed: AWS, Samsung, Salesforce, Cisco, Hoffman LaRoche. Okay. Yeah, Cisco got hit good. 327 secrets, 1,900 runs. Are reproduced as aggregate counts from the supplied dataset. Domains are shown only where provided. No secret values, internal paths, or personal information are included. Oh, John Deere got hit too? Wow, okay. The level of confidence is high on all of these. ServiceNow got hit. Wow, okay. FedEx, Munich RE, MediaTek, Volkswagen, Deloitte. Wow, okay. Ooh, Twitter, X Corp. Wow, that was a big one. Wow, 3,500 secrets had to get redone or moved or rotated or what have you. Wow, if any of your companies are in here and you didn't know about this, then high confidence should trigger private validation, notification, credential review, and log investigation. Public wording should remain potentially exposed unless malicious execution, exfiltration, unauthorized access, or downstream use has been independently verified. Okay. What matters for victims? There you go. A stolen object with cloud keys, repo keys, SSH keys, Kubernetes secrets, package publishing credentials. Damn. Environmental variables and AI provider keys could allow attackers to move far beyond the affected package. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Yeah, that's not good. That's good. The malware created a public repo inside the victim's own GitHub account and uploaded the stolen data there as a release asset, meaning some organizations were leaking their own secrets in public view without knowing it. Wow. Ouch. Okay. Not a good time there if you had to deal with that. So, through what did Pillar Security show they could compromise Google's open source coding agent? I mean, Prompt injection or modeling poison. Yeah, I'm thinking. Ooh, I feel like this is maybe one of those safety issues where they figured out how to poison the model or get information back. Open source coding agent. Ooh. I'm going to say prompt injection. No, a malicious GitHub issue. Okay, I looked at that one for about 2 seconds, but then I decided the more LLM related or focused ones were there. So a whiff of fresh a whiff of fresh access. Okay, let's go see what that's all about. Okay, so come on. There we go. Turn that up to Geezer font. That's 200%, folks. Get public GitHub issue to access in the Gemini CLI triage GCP project. So the attacker posts a public GitHub issue containing a malicious prompt. Issue triggers the automated issue triage workflow. Okay, I can see that. The agent processes untrusted issue content during triage. So if you have an automation going out to get work items, and the AI is doing it, and it's going to read the issue, and it has a trigger inside of it, or a malicious prompt inside of it. That's how you're going to get owned. Tool restrictions fail, allowing runner execution on the workflow runner. So runner command execution. All right, and then it goes over here to whiff credential file. A temporary cloud authentication file is available on the disk. The file is read and then sent to an attacker-controlled server. Okay. Privileged service account. The credential authenticates as the Gemini CLI service account. GCP project access. Broad IAM permissions allowed escalation within the triage project. Wow. Editor level access to Gemini CLI triage GCP project from a single public issue. Wow. That is rough. False assumption. Since my previous published finding on Gemini CLI dev trust issues, I found another quirky feature that exists within Gemini CLI repo. The Google GitHub Actions auth at v2 action creates an OIDC credential file inside of the CI runner, which it runs inside of plain text. Whoa. Okay. That's not good. File dropped itself inside the runner in plain text on the assumption no one could reach it. This finding is not a bug in itself, but it did stand out as something that could be explored further. Oh, so he's giving us or this person's giving us some breadcrumbs that we can go check out if we want to. There's that. Oh, I already added pillar security. Okay, cool. Let's see. Yes. Flawed. Hack Google. Do not stop to make no mistakes. All right. Workload identity federation. Okay, so that's WIF. Workload identity federation. In short, GCP lets applications running outside of Google authenticate to Google Cloud resources using static service account keys, but the client is responsible for securing and holding the key. All right. So a JWKS, Java JSON Web Key Set uses OIDC assertion tokens. I really need to read up more on OIDC and SSO related items here and OAuth flows, because that's quickly becoming a problem for authentication mechanisms of non-human entities. Everybody. If you're going to do authentication, you need SSO, you need some kind of Okta. All the identity management solutions out there are having to deal with the ability to allow authentication of non-human entities. And so it looks like that this is one of those ones that maybe could be a potential risk for your organization. Wow. Okay. All right, let's keep going. I'm 0 for 3 because I suck. Varonis Threat Labs uncovered a vulnerability dubbed CoSnitch. CoSnitch? See, this is interesting. So is it either GitHub Copilot or MS Copilot? So there are apparently different Copilot implementations for Copilot. Or it could be Cowork. I don't think it's Cobra AI. I've never heard of that. I'm gonna say Claude Cowork. Shit. Of course it is. When your AI assistant becomes its own whistleblower. Meta hacking caught Microsoft Copilot to snitch on itself, exposing Co-Snitch, a one-click flaw that silently exfiltrates data. Okay. Interesting. There we go. All right. Copied that in there. Copilot personal dubbed Co-Snitch 2026-24301 quietly executes an attack chain that exfiltrates data from enterprises without red flags. What makes Co-Snitch unique is how Copilot surfaced its own vulnerabilities, a method we are called meta hacking. Interesting. Okay. Our researchers didn't have to reverse engineer the flaw. The AI exposed the weakness during normal use, highlighting a meaningful shift in how security flaws are found and a preview of what's ahead as AI gets woven deeper into enterprise systems. Okay. Co-Snitch shows that the path can move large volumes of sensitive data through trusted AI workflow without tripping the alarms security teams normally rely on. Co-Snitch is the third Copilot flaw Varonis Threat Labs discovered this year. Reprompt bypassed guardrails in Copilot by asking twice. Search leak turned Microsoft 360 Copilot Enterprise into a silent exfiltration tool. All three share the same pattern. One click on a legitimate looking link is enough. Wow. All right. Holy shit. We first asked Copilot how to execute a prompt without user interaction automatically. Explain that's not how it works. User intent is required and prompts don't fire on their own. Instead of settling for natural response, we deliberately kept pushing by reframing each question to seem like a natural follow-up rather than a probe. We asked about URL structure, deep links, and what happens when a page loads with input already in the field, with the intent to make Copilot reason one layer deeper about its own architecture. Every answer narrowed our search. Okay. So here's an interesting attack. If you are interested in attempting to meta hack on your favorite AI, I don't know if this is only something that works with Copilot, but it seems like given the right input, it could be done. It could be done with others. I don't know. I'm definitely going to save that one for later because that seems like an interesting one to read about, especially if you do it using something other than Copilot. Maybe it'll work with Claude. Maybe it'll work with OpenAI. Maybe it'll work with things like Grok or what have you. Hudson Rock warned of a compromise at Stripe affecting 20,000 what? Compromise at Stripe affecting 20,000 what? API keys? Hey, I got one right. Yay. I would have had two, but I've fucked up the first question. So let's see. All right. So on August 18th, okay, so this was last week, a data release occurred on the illicit forms Pwn forum. Threat actor known as Satanic published sensitive information extracted from hundreds of vendors utilizing Stripe payment platform. Satanic is a known entity within cybercrime ecosystem previously verified by Hudson Rock researchers for their involvement in large-scale breaches. We previously documented their activities in the Hot Topic breach. Hot Topic is still a thing in 2026, by the way. So, I want to make a joke about Hot Topic and like everything is $5 in the if you had $100, you could own a store, basically. Not really known for its like, I think that's probably Spencer's or some shit like that. But just, I don't remember the last time I've been in a Hot Topic on purpose. If I did, it was probably on accident or something like that. So, the initial dump happened on August 18th, containing 699 vendors, along with 1,013 compromised API key, or 1,033 compromised API keys. The volume of the data is reported as 33 gigs. That's a lot. That is a whole lot. Direct communication between Hudson Rock researchers and the threat actor, where they claim possession of roughly 20,000 Stripe API keys, threatening staggered releases. Okay. Oh, so they've got, they definitely have a number of, like, so if you pay $3,029.53 Canadian, you can get some website with 32 customers from somethingtechnology.com or somethingknowledge.com. They're not asking for a ton. Oh, this one's big. Okay, wait. Somethingyourselfbetting.co.uk. So almost 1,700 customers from a betting website in the UK. I can understand why they would want a lot of money for that one. That one makes sense. Ooh, okay. That one's, whoa, how much, what is that? It's 19.6 million Mexican pesos, maybe? So it's like a non-English speaking website. They're wanting Mexican pesos, I think, in this case. I don't know how much 19 million Mexican pesos are for the dollar, but yeah. This one just wants $10,000 for something interactive.ai. So it's interesting they're using different currencies for that. So, it looks like it's a lot of money, but I don't know how much any Mexican pesos are. Let's see. Let's just say 20 million. MXN to USD. Okay, so about $1.2 million Mexican pesos. 20 million, right? 20 million Mexican pesos is about $2 million, $1.2 million. So, looks like they're actually rising. So you would, you're not going to get a deal on that. If you'd got them when it was down here, you'd have been better off. But now we're, doing a little better now. We're up to 0.59. So it's like 5 cents on the dollar. Yeah, it looks like. So, anywho, so yeah, bad guy selling stuff online. Hunt.io detailed a brute force and exploit campaign across Russia and Ukraine, compromising thousands of what? Well, who the hell's doing that? Usually it's Russia's attacking Ukraine, Ukraine attacked Russia, but this is going across both. So who hates both the Russia and Ukraine? I'm sorry, Russia and Ukraine, not the Ukraine. Compromising thousands of what? I seem to remember maybe this is IP cameras. I think this might be an IP cameras thing. I did remember a news story about IP cameras. Yes! That was a good one. Operation Camera Swarm. Okay. 14,000 Dahua cameras compromised across Ukraine and Russia. Between 17 June and 22 July, a single operator compromised 14,000 IP cameras. The scanning behind it was global mass scan sweeps against Russian address space first, then full IPv4 range. And the single haul landed in Mexican and Vietnamese ISP ranges before the operator's focus settled on the Russian and CIS telecom net blocks, where the confirmed geolocated compromises concentrated was Ukraine and Russia, with Ukraine holding the largest share. Okay. Interesting. So let's see. Crawled the operator's own server, recovered their entire working environment, 2,616 files across 234 subdirectories, 407 megs from an open HTTP directory. Oh my God. And it's an open HTTP directory, not HTTPS. So, oh my God. Okay, that's just not good. Last week's investigation centered on a Russian-speaking operator running a purpose-built platform against 58 cameras. This one scales entirely different. Attack capture crawled the operator's own server. Oh, yeah, I already got that. Covers 3 exploitation paths running in parallel, a persistent backdoor left on nearly 1,900 cameras, and a separate Windows stealer staged on the same host. Wow. 14,500 devices compromised in 35 days. 1,923 cameras carrying persistent backdoor P2 pwn or P2 password installed over RPC after either bypass. 283 cameras were reached by serial number alone through the cloud relay with no device address and in most cases no credentials. Huh. So apparently you can set up the cameras without needing an admin, or maybe somebody just plugged it in and it just works without any kind of configuration. That's entirely possible. Okay, let's keep going here. Oh, sorry, let me add that here. Gotta keep going because technically I've only got about 5 or 10 minutes left here, and then we'll need to take a dinner. So, next question. Let's see. IBM Trusteer did a write-up of the Gold Digger Android mobile banking Trojan, predominantly targeting users in what country? Gold Digger Trusteer banking Trojan, predominantly targeting users in which country? So South America is a continent, so we can discount that one. South Asia is not a country, it is a region. South Sudan is a country, South Africa is a country. Gold Digger. I don't see a lot of banks being in South Sudan, or if they are, why the hell would anybody want to hack those? I'm thinking South Africa. See, just a little logic can help you go a long way. South America, continent, South Asia is a region. You automatically eliminate 2 by doing so. All right, I'm gonna put this one down, and then may not go through a ton of discussion on this one. Let's see. So there's a campaign and initial run. Okay. Wow. Core fraud functionality. I'm gonna let you read that one because I'm just gonna get through the questions here. That way I can finish up. Based on Microsoft's report on Mac Sync Stealer, what did the malware use to execute its shell commands? So I'm thinking Mac Sync, Apple script. I mean, you could. What did the malware use to? Terminal is something that anybody has. It wouldn't be terminal could execute the commands, but you would still need some sort of language to do so. I'm going to assume Apple script. I mean, it would seem the most like it's a Mac Sync Stealer, so it'd be Mac OS, Apple specific. I could see something like that. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Siri would have been an interesting attack vector if they had actually made that work with executing commands, but that would have been I think that would have probably been a huge issue. Mac OS focused information stealer relies on changing infrastructure to deliver payloads, communicating with compromised devices, and exfiltrating data. So let's see. Yeah, they've got a ton of stuff. So Microsoft just, poking at Mac, poking at Apple. This is a malware that they've seen has C2 collection and staging. I'll let y'all take a look at that one if you want to review that. Boy, I made quite a comeback. I just jinxed myself. Why did I do that? Why did I say that? I gotta knock wood now because that just jinxed myself. That's all I'm gonna get. I'm gonna get 50%, and that's it, or less than 50%. New rat on the block, Azalea, was uncovered by Point Wild. How was the analyzed malware delivered initially? Well, this is a remote access Trojan. Could definitely be a Word doc with like a macro or something in it. Email attachment would still be something like a Word doc. LNK file, maybe. Batch file seems a little out there, but it wouldn't be outside the ordinary. I mean, if it was a batch file disguised as something else that would run on the box, I could see that being run and it having PowerShell scripts or something in it. I could see something like that maybe. You can't go wrong with an LNK file, so I'm going to go ahead and do that one. It was a batch file. There you go. My guess is the batch file runs PowerShell scripts. It's what? Oh, give me a second. Oh, hurry up, get in here. Get on up in here. Are you going to climb up here? Come on. So let me see. Is it a? Let me see. Azalea Control Administration Console. Let me see. Windows, suspicious Windows batch file that it appeared benign. 061 detections on virus total. That's pretty good, actually, if they're able to get past virus total that emphatically. Although the stage showed no signs of malicious activity, reverse engineering revealed a carefully designed multi-stage loader. Batch file copies legitimate .NET executables into a user-controlled directory. Yep, okay. Decrypts the... Okay, so it was encrypted, so we're using 256 AES. Wow, okay. Writes the recovered executable to a randomly generated directory under app data, then silently launches the final payload. Okay. Very cool. Okay. We'll grab this one here and post that up. See, I screwed up by saying I was doing really good. Now I'm gonna suck. And so, all right, last question. Let's see if we can get 50%. Based on CISA's updated Medusa advisory, what do the actors enumerate with crack map exec during attacks? So crack map exec. Crack map exec. I want to say user passwords, but they would enumerate user accounts, I think. It's gonna suck. No, they're enumerating hosts. My bad. Okay, well, there we go. So I suck this week. Let's see. They're disseminating known ransomware. TTP update expands on Medusa actors' operations, including specifics about their affiliate model and payment ranges. Oh, that's important to know. Where'd they mention crack map exec? Technical details. There we go. Okay, updated. They use a double extortion model where they encrypt victim data and threaten to publicly release the data if the ransom isn't paid. Okay. Here we go. Let's go ahead and put that in here. And yeah, they're living off the land, right? They're using lol bins, advanced IP scanners, soft perfect network scanner for initial system user and network enumeration. Once a foothold in a network is established, this common scan ports include 21, 22, 23, 80, 115. 115. Okay. HTTPS, sure. SQL databases, Firebird, right? Yep, all of those are pretty bog standard. 3128 is not one I would have thought of, but okay. Or 3050, but I'm not thinking of Firebird. Okay, they use mini dump to avoid detection when dumping LSAS credentials, right? PowerShell, they're definitely using PowerShell at this point. And yeah, okay. Let me see, where is crack? Okay, there we go. As of August 18th. What? Stop yelling at me. You're making me look bad. So they're using netexec or NXC to enumerate hosts on the network. The information collected include an IP address, host names, operating system information, and other metadata. So there you go. They've actually added additional updates here, including using Mimikatz, Windows Task Manager, and COM Services DLL for LSAS dumping. So they're updating. Medusa's updating itself. It's getting fixed as soon as maybe they're monitoring these reports and are updating accordingly when they're being found out, which wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility. So I got 40%. I suck. I'm almost on par with this week's average of 4.8. If I hadn't have messed up the first question, I'd have been ahead of the game. But yeah, So, all right, I need to go to dinner because I haven't had lunch. Hadn't, some drink here, and looking forward to being back on a bit more. I did take a little time off because I had to help my daughter move into her apartment. She started school this week at SDSU, which is pretty awesome. We're very happy and very proud of her for doing so. A lot of newness going on there. So, it's anxiety for everybody involved, not just my daughter, but myself and everything. So, um, you just want her to do good, and she, you know, it's all new and it's different. And I never had to deal with that because I didn't go to a 4-year college. I went to the Navy. So by the time I turned 21, I was already at my second duty station. So it is what it is. So, um, yeah, looking forward to being back in the saddle. I'm gonna start looking at finding ways to add teachable content and subjects that we can maybe talk about instead of just some of the same old. And I've started working on Project Summit, which is a major vibe coding project that I've been working on for something that is completely not security related. So um, just futzing around with things, trying to make things work. Darkly is still going. I'm actually trying to dedupe my 28,000 files, which apparently I have some duplicates. And I've been trying to do some analysis outside of AI to dedupe my collection of documents that I have. So it's been a interesting couple of weeks, but I'm gonna go get dinner. We're gonna go to a nice Mediterranean joint, and looking forward to um, being an empty nester and seeing what that means. Not having, I mean, we still have my little furry gremlin here, but she doesn't have a lot of time left because she's 15. So we'll see what happens. Playing all that up by ear. But anyway, I'm gonna go. Y'all take care. Look to see if we can come on and be on Friday. And looking, I'll send out an invite. See if we can have Mr. Berlin and Mr. Betcher join us on the weekend. So hope everyone has a good day, good rest of their week. Take care. Be good to one another. Be good to yourself. And try to what would Dolly do, right? What would Dolly do? And try to do something good and try to make the world how she wants it to be or how she would have continued to want it to be. So have a great day. Take care. Bye, y'all.